Welcome to the second episode of Let's Talk About It Live, where we deep dive into conversations women need to be having about their hormones, but often don't. If you missed last week's episode, you can watch it here on this Facebook channel. Scroll back and you will find our first episode. Today, we're talking about hot flashes, night sweats, and sleep struggles, things I know I can relate to. And back with us for this conversation is Dr. Amber Grasse, founder of Healthy Home.
Oh, Lindsay, I'm so happy to be here with you. This is something all women are going through, and so this is an important discussion.
Well, thank you for being here. If you joined us for episode one, you already know Dr. Amber, but let me give you a quick history on Dr. Amber. So she brings a wealth of knowledge and, of course, heart to the hormone conversation. She's passionate about helping women understand their bodies, take control of their wellness, and feel empowered every step of the way. So let's dive right in. Today's
Oh,
question. Sorry, go ahead, Amber.
I'm excited.
Thank you. Me too. Okay, I'm going to lead us through just our first question and we'll dive right in. So, why do perimenopause and menopause mess with our sleep symptoms and just our overall sleep? And then, why is sleep so important to us right now?
My gosh. Well, first of all, I want to say that you're not alone. 80% of women may experience disrupted sleep during perimenopause and menopause. I mean, sleep is significantly impacted due to this hormonal shift that we're experiencing, and particularly our decline in estrogen and progesterone. It disrupts our body's sleep and wake cycle, which leads to insomnia, hot flashes, night sweats, brain fog, weight gain, anxiety, and the list goes on and on. And look, you asked another important question. Why is this important? Because we spend a third of our life sleeping. Sleep literally impacts and affects every organ, every disease state in our body. I mean, there's a sleep doctor that says you can go 4 days without water, 25 days without food, but only 6 to 7 days without sleep. In fact, losing as little as 1.5 hours for just one night impacts our daytime alertness by over a third. I mean, there are significant studies that suggest when you only get 6 hours of sleep, you have a loss of 50% of your immune system versus people who get 8 hours. So sleep deprivation is real, and it's a sleep debt that we all have to pay.
Wow. So, you've broken down why that is so important to us, and it makes me feel like I need to be getting a lot more sleep. So, that's a great reminder to all of us. So let's talk a little bit more about the science. Can you break it down a bit? What's actually causing hot flashes and night sweats?
Yeah, so you might have heard this vasomotor symptom. This is kind of a fancy word, VMS, or what we know, hot flashes and night sweats. Again, I want women to know you're not alone. There's up to 80% of women may experience this during perimenopause and menopause. So even though we feel it in the body, truthfully, the signal comes from our brain. There's a heat sensing neuron that's called in the hypothalamus. It's a part of your brain that has to do with our temperature regulation. I want you to think of your thermostat in your house, okay? It's used to getting the signals from our progesterone and from our estrogen. But as our hormones start to fluctuate, that signal just isn't reliable anymore, and those neurons misfire. And then that's when you feel it as a hot flash. And this again goes back to sleep. It can dramatically impact our sleep. And in fact, they did a study, a brain study, where they measured the brain. It's called an EEG. And they looked at women who were having hot flashes and they were measuring their sleep through the night. So automatically we assume that, we're just waking up when we have hot flashes or night sweats. But the fact is it interrupted the entire sleep pattern through the whole night.
Wow. Okay, so now that we understand that and we're all realizing that we want a lot more sleep, what are some realistic life hacks that you can give us or simple tips that will help us cool down at night, help us sleep better, and just feel overall healthier?
Well, first of all, balance our hormones, balance our hormones, balance our hormones. That's number one. But I'm going to give you a few hacks in terms of how to set your body up and prepare your body to sleep. Because I want you to understand that when you sleep, it helps you with weight loss. It helps you with anxiety. It helps you with every facet of our life. And so if we understood the debt that we're paying when we're not having appropriate sleep, it would change everything in our quality of our life. So number one, I always say set an alarm an hour before bed. I want you to treat this like you have an appointment that you're being charged for. If you miss this, we don't want to miss our dentist appointment or doctor appointment because we have to pay the debt. Well, you're going to pay a debt too that you have to pay if you don't sleep. So set an alarm an hour before bed, and you want to condition your brain and your bedroom for sleep. So I always say to people, one thing that you need to do is get rid of your phone. Leave your phone in another room. I mean, it only takes seconds for blue light to hit your eye, and as soon as it does, it shuts off the melatonin, and that's what we use to sleep. Another huge thing is get blue light glasses, because even though I tell everybody put your phone in the other room, what do people do? They go and get their phone and they look at it. And so if you do have to look at it, you can get these cheap. Get a blue light blocking glass and have that on an hour before bed if you have to look at the light. And so that's another huge tip. And no caffeine or sugar 8 hours before bed. Especially during perimenopause and menopause, it impacts the quality of your life. It impacts the anxiety in your body, your nervous system, and it blocks the melatonin in your body. And because caffeine can last up to 8 hours, I tell people if you do have caffeine, stop at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 2 o'clock, and reduce your sugar. Even alcohol, it changes significantly in our body the way it adapts to our body once we're having hormonal related changes. And so another key component I say is journal. I don't care if you take 10 minutes to journal. Go in another room, if it's an hour before bed, within that time, and journal all the things that are on your mind that you're like, oh, I got to do this tomorrow, I got to do that, and write a list. Take a few minutes, jot that down. Doesn't have to look pretty. And when you drop the pen, you drop that list and those challenges and problems in the other room. Now, sorry, go ahead.
I love that. I just thought that the journal concept is so near and dear to me, and it's something that I learned early on because my mind does race as I'm trying to sleep. And it's just a platform to let it go. It's just a place where you can release those thoughts, and it's something that no one else has to see, so they can be scribbled and scrambled, and it's just, it's whatever you want to put. But I love that journal concept.
Yeah, and then you're just not sitting there laying in bed. I got to do this, I got to do that. I thought at one point it was a good idea to put a pen and paper beside my bed. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd get up and then I'd squint. I couldn't see it. I grabbed my phone and flash on the paper. And so leave it in the other room. Another key thing is take a bath 20 minutes before bed. And I have people tell me, like, I don't take baths. It's not about that. What happens, there's actual studies that suggest raising the core temperature of your body, and then when you're out of the bath and dropping it, it triggers the melatonin in your body, and it tells your brain to start getting ready for rest. There's a saying that, daylight is great in the day, no light at night. Okay. So another tip we always hear about, oh, get your room black, and people go get blackouts. Look, as much as we love that idea, the cost of getting our blackouts in a room and all that stuff, and you have children, you have dogs and animals, go get a mask. Get a black sleep mask. They're cheap, and put it over your eyes. It's going to trigger your brain to shut down and cool down and get relaxed. Now, I'm going to share another tip, and this can be used in the daytime. This can be used before bed, and it's actually developed by the Navy SEALs. And so in combat, they wanted to calm their body, right? For battle, they needed to make sure they weren't moving, they weren't having any changes in their body. And so they developed a breathing technique that actually had some really cool science behind it. And the breathing is called a 4-7-8 technique. And it's really simple. And you can do this in the daytime if you're feeling anxious, but at night when you're laying in their bed and our brains are rapidly thinking, you can sit there and you can just remember 4-7-8. And what that means is close your eyes, get your body calm, and when you're getting ready, and you're comfortable, you're going to close your eyes and you're going to count to 4. So you're going to inhale for a count of 4, you're going to hold for 7 seconds, and you're going to release for a count of 8. And as you do that over and over, what it does is it calms the parasympathetic nervous system, it slows down your heart rate, it calms you, and you actually go into the same cycle that you go into as you drift off to bed. And so this is just a really cool technique. I've had people use it nonstop just through their day. And look, we're going to continue to bring you tips like this. Like when you have hot sweats and, night sweats, sorry, and hot flashes, you actually have an increased rate of anxiety. And so in the upcoming weeks, we're going to talk about anxiety and panic attacks and what you can do to help your body and help your mind. Like you're going to hear tips on right now. If somebody's having a hot flash or a night sweat, layer. In the meantime, while we're balancing your hormones, because nothing, all of these tips are beautiful, but balancing your hormones is so critical to the quality of our life. Want to lose weight? Balance your hormones. Want to sleep better? Balance your hormones. But these are just tips and suggestions. And look, as we go through perimenopause and menopause, we do need to show up in the world differently. These messages are coming to our body rapidly because we have to show up as a different version of ourselves than we ever have before. And so I hope some of these tips were helpful.
Thanks, Amber. Those were so helpful. My big takeaways, I think, would be the breathing technique. I love that. I don't know if anyone else listening right now just took in those 4 seconds of breaths and let out as you were telling this, where you were talking through it. So I know I did. Drop in the comments what you plan to take away from this call and some things that you're going to start doing. I think the blue blocking glass or glasses, huge. I'm one that can't put my phone away right before bed. I feel like there might be an urgent need. I'm a full-time, mom as well as I work full-time. And so there's just this connection to my phone that makes me feel like that I need it. And so that's the other thing. That's another takeaway that will really be helpful to me. I appreciate it so much. What you've shared today was very insightful. I hope that those listening also enjoyed this. Again, tell us in the comments what you liked. Tell us if there's any topics you'd like us to cover in the coming weeks. And we will see you next week for our next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.